I'm Justin Fruechte, the product expert with Renovo Seed. And now that we're into August, your focus really comes to what are we looking at doing after our small grain harvest. So a lot of wheat has been coming off the field, a lot of rye, oats, and so we've got an opportunity to come back onto those acres and plant a cover crop. So we want to just go over the options of what you have. And so really it probably falls into two different categories. If you want to be able to plant a cover crop for forage, or you want to be able to plant a cover crop just for soil health purposes and ground cover. So for forage, now that we're into August, we really got to be thinking about blends that have a higher portion of cool season species, since they're going to be growing mainly at the end of August through September, first part of October. Or if you think it's going to stay hot, we can at least hedge our bet and use some warm season species with some cool season species. So right now we would recommend two options. Okay, if you think it's going to stay warm, I would do the ranch hand. Right, we have some warm season grasses in there with the Sudan and the millet, but we still have your cool season species in there. We still have brassicas and cool season legumes. It's a 10-way blend with a ton of diversity. It's going to grow fast now through the heat with the warm seasons, but stay strong coming through September. Has some cold and frost tolerance with those brassicas and legumes. That's going to be a great option if you want some diversity on your land, plus a lot of options for your cattle or livestock to graze because of the diversity of species as well. The other option is the producer, and the producer does work well because it's all cool season species that'll grow great later in the year. We've got oats, we've got vetch, we've got radish, turnip, and flax in there. And so whether you're coming after wheat, oats, barley, rye, either one of those works well. If you're planting those, let's make sure that you do have some sort of fertility on board. Okay, we want to make sure that we're making the most amount of grazing possible with those blends if we want to graze them. So putting on some nitrogen and some phosphorus is important, especially because a lot of these small grains had a big harvest, and so we probably need to replenish the soil with some fertility as well. So the other option is to plant something for soil health purposes. Okay, so the biggest thing that we can do on these small grain acres is start to dictate our carbon to nitrogen ratio, or we can start to cycle some of this residue. And so once again, since we had a big crop of rye or wheat, we probably had a lot of straw. And so in no-till systems where we need to start cycling some of that straw or some of that residue, we can use brassicas to help us with that. And so in that scenario where we want to burn through or start to decompose that faster so that our ground is prepped for next year, Classic Trio has worked really well. And so all it is radish, turnips, and rapeseed. And because there's absolutely no cellulose, no fiber in those plants, our rate of decomposition is pretty quick by having all brassicas on there, and it'll start to mellow out that ground because of the deep tap roots, but also we'll probably have less residue there come next spring to plant into. Now, we wouldn't recommend that if you're in central South Dakota and in the western plains where we need to hold the ground in place and we need some residue on top of the ground. We want to make sure that if you're in that scenario, let's not do more than 25 or 30% brassicas. Okay, so in that system, we'd probably use something like our nutrient builder blend, where we've got more legumes out there. We actually have some flax, we have a little bit of oats in there, something that's going to have some fiber and hold some stubble in place throughout the winter, catch some snow. But the big benefit of that is we still have a radish in there, which is a deep taproot that's going to scavenge for nutrients. It's going to open up the ground from a compaction standpoint. And then we've got a lot of legumes in there. And by planting those now, before the end of August, we have enough growing days to actually start to form nodules on those legumes and fix some nitrogen. So those are the options there if we want to cycle some nutrients, keep the ground active as far as our biology, moving it forward because we have a living root in the soil. We want to look at Classic Trio or Nutrient Builder. So there is one more option that we're not going to completely talk about yet, but it's coming up, and that's using winter annuals. If the time gets late here and we move into September, then we can start looking at some of those winter annual options, and we'll cover those in a later video. Also, if you have more questions, want more information on any of these products, check out renovoseed.com. Thanks for watching.